We have seen a week of mounting protests against recent police-involved incidents caught on camera. The people who are attending these protests exhausted and angry, all against the backdrop of the trial for the man accused of killing George Floyd, with closing arguments set for tomorrow.
Well, now it's Sunday, a time to reflect and look forward also. So we thought that we'd bring on someone who can help us do all of that. Bishop William Barber, he is here with us. Bishop, thank you. He is the co-chair, by the way, of the Poor People's Campaign and president of Repairers of the Breach. Good morning, Bishop. Thank you again for being here. You recently said that policing culture, the culture itself, where white officers act with impunity, is our first and biggest social ill, in your words. What kind of impact, though, do you think the verdict in the Chauvin trial will have on these ill?
Well, you know, this is not an anomaly. It's happening too much, and it shows that there's something in the culture that allows persons to act with impunity, act as though black life is very cheap, brown life is very cheap. Now, this trial could go one or two ways. If we go down the way of the defense that is put up in a logical defense, actually a form of lies, even trying to suggest this man that we saw murdered in front of us died from carbon dioxide poisoning. I really feel for the country if that's the way this goes, because it's just too wrong, it's too hurtful, it's too obvious what is going on. On the other hand, this could be the trial that shows that even if you're an officer of the law backed up by the state, but if you murder somebody, you will find justice. You will be treated properly. You will be indicted. You will be found guilty. And, you know, we've also got to do some other things, though. We're going to have to make sure that we make sure that even if people are found guilty at the state level, that they can be prosecuted federally. We may need to start talking about insurance companies saying we're not going to pay. If you kill somebody wrong, murder somebody as a cop, we're not going to pay your insurance. It's going to come out of your pension. It's going to come out of the city budgets. And we've got to make sure that we say to this culture that black and brown life is not cheap, and you cannot just kill people with impunity.
Bishop, I want to talk to you also about the controversial voting rights laws that are moving their way throughout the country, particularly the one signed in Georgia. And you teamed up with Bernice King for an op-ed featured in Time, in which you both say voting rights should be viewed as a moral issue. So how do you convince people of this, particularly when all these similar bills are being debated in other states?
Well, isn't it something that here we are in this democracy years and years after the Voting Rights Act was passed, that one president said was the greatest victory in this country, even greater than some of our wars. And now people are trying to go backwards and take away voting rights. Some of them are basing it on the lies that Trump told, but also many of us believe that they are afraid of the new federal laws that will eventually be passed that will expand voting rights, and also the restoration of the Voting Rights Act, particularly Section 5, that says that many of these states would have to have pre-clearance before these laws would go into effect. They'd have to be pre-cleared by the Justice Department, and they know they wouldn't make it. It is wrong. It is an attack on our democracy. Voter suppression is immoral, and this is why it's an immoral issue. It hurts black people, it hurts brown people, it hurts poor white people. I was in a room one day with white and black people, and we showed the connection between those who suppress the vote and those who block living wages, block health care, block women's rights. And this white guy stood up and said, you know what, Reverend, they're playing us against each other. And I said, that's exactly right. Voting suppression creates an impoverished democracy, and this is why it's immoral. In this country, we only allow people to vote. We don't allow pets, parakeets, and puppies. And so if you suppress the right to vote, you're suggesting I'm not a person. I don't matter. That's why it's a moral issue. To suppress my right to vote is literally to say I do not fit in the description of what America calls a person or a citizen. And that is immoral, and we must stop it.
And I only have about 30 seconds here, Reverend. You guys are doing something to try to fight all of this, including the fight around the filibuster. What are y'all doing?
Well, pastors are coming together across this country to say the filibuster is immoral, it's regressive, it has been used to block or delay every piece of legislation, from anti-slavery legislation to welfare to Social Security to civil rights to women's suffrage. If you check history, it has never been used in a positive way. And if you support the filibuster, we are challenging senators to say, then you are either an enabler or an advocate of suppression, of regression, of against civil rights, against living wages, against health care. You can't straddle the fence. The filibuster has never in history been used to bring people together. Joe Manchin is wrong on that. And it's a strange thing that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is now applauding Manchin and others who are supporting the filibuster and blocking voting rights. There's something wrong when money is connected to this kind of suppression. It's anti-democratic, it's anti-going forward, and we must challenge this, too, as a form of immorality and a form of sin. It is regressive, it is wrong, and we must challenge it.
And Bishop Barber, I know that you've spoken to Joe Manchin personally, trying to convince him, but it sounds like you haven't been able to convince him as yet. Our thanks to you for joining us here on this Sunday morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.